Did you know that Joseph Smith established his own secret political organization called the Council of 50? Let me tell you a little bit about it. So, less than 4 months before his death, Joseph Smith organized and created this council called the Council of 50. It was made up of about 50 members, and they called the Council of 50, or sometimes the Kingdom of God. Right? This was going to be a separate entity from the church. The Council of 50 was going to be to protect the political and temporal needs of the saints. So this was going to be a separate political organization. Once they had enough of the governors and the president of the United States turning a blind eye to their suffering, right, to all the murders that mobs were committing on the saints, literal murders. Once the government was no longer protecting them and turning a blind eye to them, they decided that they were going to have to leave the United States, right? And as a last resort, before they left, they had Joseph Smith run for president, right? So Joseph Smith created this Council of 50 to run his presidential campaign and to act as a political body in this new settlement, right? So they were overviewing and discussing and planning for this future exodus of the saints. They were looking at, for example, locations of where they were going to go, how they were going to get there. They're looking at Texas, Oregon, California, Utah. But after Joseph Smith's death, Brigham Young reinstituted the Council of 50 after about a year break. And Brigham Young had the Council of 50 focus on a few other things. They were still going to focus on the move west because that was their top priority. But another top priority was the finishing of the Nauvoo Temple. Right? He wanted to get all the saints endowed before they made the move west. So the Council of 50 was focusing on the move west. They were focusing on the finishing of the temple in Nauvoo. They were focusing on the finishing of the Nauvoo house, which was going to be kind of like a church office building there. And as Joseph Smith and Brigham Young planned, the Council of 50 was also going to ultimately be the governing body in this new settlement. They were planning on establishing a theocracy, right, in this new settlement. And Joseph Smith gave a definition of a theocracy and how they were going to run this new settlement and government. He said a theocracy meant exercising all the intelligence of the council and bringing forth all the light which dwells in the breasts of every man, and then let God approve of the document. So kind of how the church is ran today, that's how they were planning on running their new government and their new settlement, right? And the Council of 50 even named Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, right, their prophet, priest, and king. In other words, their religious and political leader. So that was a super brief overview of what the Council of 50 was. There's a lot more to it, but if you want to learn more about it, I recommend checking out the minutes of the meetings themselves on the Joseph Smith papers, or you can check out this book if you want to learn more about the Council of 50. It's pretty short, easy read, but it's amazing and gives great information on the council.